Good morning, kids. It's story time. We haven't had it for a week because we take turns. But this is one of my favorite Christmas stories. It's called The Crippled Lamb. Can you see the little lamb? This is one of my favorite, and it takes a little while to read. It's by Max Lucado. So I'm going to read quick, but I want you to enjoy this sweet story. Once upon a time in a sunny valley, there lived a little lamb named Joshua. He was white with black spots, black feet, and very sad eyes. Josh felt sad when he saw the other lambs with snow white wool and no spots. He felt sad when he saw the other sheep with their moms and dads because he did not have a mom or dad. But he felt the saddest when he saw the other lambs running and jumping because he couldn't. Josh had been born with one leg that didn't work right. He was crippled, and he always walked with the limp. So you see little Joshua? He's walking with the limp. He has a little black spot. You know, sometimes when we're different, we think that something must be wrong with us, but sometimes our difference is what makes us special. Let's see what else. That's why he always watched the other lambs play and would sit and feel sad and alone, except for Abigail, the cow, who always was his dear friend. She was brown with white blotches that looked like rain puddles on a path. Her belly was round as a barrel, and her voice was always kind and friendly. Some of Josh's favorite hours were spent with Abigail. You see Abigail? See her puddle spots on her? But she was his dear friend. Abigail and Joshua loved to sit and look at the sky and the land and tell stories to each other. Abigail would tell Joshua lots of stories. And sometimes, even with Abigail, he would feel sad because he couldn't do the other things. But Abigail would always say, "Joshua, don't be sad. God has a special place for all of us and for those who feel left out." So even Abigail said, "Don't worry, God has a plan for you." Josh wanted to believe her, but it was hard. Some days he just felt all alone, and he was so alone. And then one day the shepherds decided to take the lambs to another valley where there was more grass. The sheep were so excited, and they were running ahead to the next meadow. So here's the shepherds. They're going to take them to the new meadow. But what about Joshua? Let's see what happens. As they began to leave, Josh hobbled over to take his place with the group. But the shepherds came and said, "Oh, Joshua, wait a minute." And the other sheep were being ugly and laughed and said, "Slowpoke, Joshua, go back, go back." Oh, poor little Joshua. He was being bullied. That wasn't very nice. The shepherd very tenderly said, "Joshua, you better stay back. This is a long, long trip. Go and spend the night in the stable with the cow, and when we return, we'll bring you some fresh grass." So then Joshua turned and limped away. Poor Joshua. You see him? The shepherd was being nice, but Joshua again felt left out. And so Joshua and Abigail stayed behind and watched the other sheep go into the new meadow way across the hills. And a big tear slipped out of Joshua's eye. He felt so sad. But Abigail said, "Don't be sad, Joshua. God has a special place for those who feel left out." So there goes all the other sheep over to the other side where there was a new meadow, and Joshua stayed behind. While in the stable, they ate a little bit and talked a little bit. Joshua was hungry. And finally, Abigail said, "Joshua, let's go to sleep. Come on. We'll tell some stories and go to sleep." So they nestled in the corner of the stable, and Abigail laid beside him. He was glad he had his friend, Abigail, in the stable. Friends can help us get through lots of things, can't they? So here they are, nestled down in the stable. Can you see them? Soon Josh was asleep, and at first he slept soundly. But then he started dreaming of running and jumping. He dreamed of being able to do all the things that the other lambs did. But then there was a noise, and it woke him up. Oh, a noise? What could it be? They heard in the stable whispering, "Abigail, Abigail, wake up, I'm scared." Abigail lifted her head. "Somebody is here," said Josh. They looked across the dimly lit stable, and there, lying on fresh hay, in their feed box, their manger, where they had just eaten, was a baby. A young woman was resting on a pile of hay right next to the manger. Josh looked at Abigail. Abigail looked at Josh. Oh my goodness, what is going on? You see the manger? You see the mom? That's Mary. She's lying next to the manger. That's where they had just eaten their hay. Josh looked at the woman and the child and then limped across the stable. The baby was crying. He was cold, and the mom picked him up and tried to nurture him. Josh looked around the stable for something warm to give the baby. There were no blankets. The shepherds had taken them. There was nothing there. Nothing. Oh, so there's Joshua looking at the baby and wanting to help keep the baby warm. When Josh remembered his own soft, warm wool was warm, he timidly walked up to the mother and said, "Can I curl up next to the baby and try to keep it warm?" "Oh, thank you, little lamb," said the mother with a soft voice. And soon the baby did stop crying and went back to sleep. About that time, a man entered the stable carrying some rags. "I'm sorry, Mary, this is all I could find. There are no blankets anywhere." "Oh, it's okay. Look, this little lamb. He's come to warm our king." "A king? A king?" thought Joshua. Who could this be? Mary said, the lady again, "His name will be Jesus, Joseph. Yes, he is God's son. He came from heaven to teach us about God. Oh, Joseph, it's such a miracle." Joshua listened. "He's a king. His name is Jesus. He's God's son. Oh my goodness, I'm here warming up. The king, a king. Wow, thought Joshua. Boy, was he special. Well, about that time, there were more noises, and here came all the shepherds. They said angels had told them that the king had been born and to follow the star, and it led them right back to the stable. And when they got there, they could not believe it. There they saw their little lamb Joshua right next to the baby king, keeping it warm, right next to its mother Mary and father from earth, Joseph. Wow, thought the shepherds. Wow, thought the other lambs. Look at Joshua. He's so special. He gets to be right next to the baby king. So look, they're all looking and thinking how special Joshua is. Joshua stayed with the baby all day and all night, helping to keep it warm. He couldn't believe he was one of the first ones to welcome God's son into the world. And Abigail told him, "See, Joshua, God has a special place for all who feel left out. And he has a special something for all of us to do. You kept the King of all kings warm this very night. You are so special." And so there he is. See, sometimes we think that our little things that we don't like about ourselves are awful, but we might find out later those very things are what make us special and give us great purpose with God. So never forget that. I love you, and I'll do another Christmas story the next time we meet. Get all your things up to remind you of Jesus' birthday and try to do something kind every day. I love you.